Hi, everyone. Really excited that you're all here. This panel in itself is AI and artistry, friend or foe. I have to say, from large publications, from the New York Times to the Guardian, you name it, they're talking about the fact that there's a shortage of hot takes on the intersection of art, creativity, and AI. Because we talk about AI really with a lot of the other type of business. However, as we know, AI is literally in everything now, and that includes in the arts as well. And so it's, the main thing is like we know AI is not going away. And because of that, what are we going to do with AI living and existing with us? And especially when we now see AI being used to really used for communication. Now it's looking at film editing. It is now creating your own imagery for you. And it is going through all of these things. And so then how do we think about that? Is it replacing creativity? Is it replacing artistry? What is it happening in this space? And I love the fact that we have a panel here. It's a combination of technologists and creatives so that we can really dig into this conversation and around the various topics between, is artists going to be going away? People talk about AI is going to take our jobs. Does that also include the artists and the creatives? I personally don't think so, but that's what we're going to dig into. And so I guess we will just want to put that context out there before we get started. And what we'll do is we will introduce ourselves. I'll start. Kimfer Flanery-Rye, she, her pronouns. I am a diversity, equity, and inclusion and culture consultant. I'm the founder of Inclusion Equals, as well as I own a community of peers of women, femmes, and gentle thems that are business owners, small business owners, where we work together, called the F-Bomb Breakfast Club, because we swear like sailors and build, can I say it? Build fucking amazing businesses. And I also am an investor and just invested in a women's sports bar that will be popping up in Seattle. So that's a little bit about me, and also a former executive creative director for an agency that got purchased by Accenture. So I do have some history in marketing and as a creative. All right, Pip.
Cool, so I'm Pip, one of the founders of Springboards with my wife. We are ex-agency people, but we often like to say that we're a self-loathing AI company. And the reason for that is we don't actually like AI all that much, largely because I think the default is to work out how do you execute creativity faster, and we don't think creativity needs to be done faster. Instead, what we try to do is reverse engineer it to be an inspiration tool. And so we design around people to help inspire ideas and put ideas into their heads to then get out of the way and let them run with it. So yeah, that's myself.
Hi, I'm Maria D'Amato, Executive Creative Director at GSD&M, which is a full-service advertising agency in Austin, Texas. I love this topic especially because my background is in fine art, capital A art, as I refer to it. And then I moved into graphic design, which is very much commercial art. And then working in advertising, it is very commercial. So there's inherently intersection between these things in my career path, and excited to talk about that here
I love
today.
It.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Awesome. Hi, I'm Caitlyn. I'm on the business development and partnership team at Leonardo.Ai, which is part of the larger Canva company. And my background is a mix of partnership and product integrations. I had been with TikTok, where I founded the AI partnership program, and previous to that I was at Adobe doing go-to-market for Creative Cloud. So I've sort of sit at this intersection of creative and technology and trying to understand where these two overlap and where there's sort of synergy between them. So I'm also pretty excited to kind of dig in and maybe like do a little fear busting for everybody.
I love it. Well, thank you, and thank you for introducing yourself. So we're gonna just get started. And of course I have my handy dandy questions here. So Caitlyn, I'm going to start with you here. When you first heard of AI-generated art, what was your immediate gut reaction, and has that changed over time?
So I love that you brought up that you worked in capital A, fine art. I studied art history in undergrad and grad school, and my concentration was photography. And what I loved about photography was this intersection of technology and art, and putting technology in artists' hands and like seeing what they would do with it that's different. So when I heard about generative art or generative AI art when I was working in it already, I was like, oh, this is like the same story that we've already seen. It's an evolution of something that we've been doing for years. And I think there's such a clear difference of technology in the hands of an artist, of a big C creative versus a non-creative person. Like, I think about a camera in my hands versus Cindy Sherman or anyone else. And I'm like, oh, that's so different. It's so obvious what someone with a little creative juice can do with technology. So I don't fear the concept of it because we've seen it before, right? It's just a new story like wrapped up in something we've known for a very long time.
I love this because talk about big A art. Also have a BFA degree, so there's a lot of connections here. And like you said, to the camera, when cameras were first launched, people thought, oh, people are going to stop drawing. They're going to stop painting, and this machine is going to take everyone's artistry away, right? And I think you're right. In this conversation, it's a new evolution of a tool, right? Maria, I'm wondering, how do you define creativity? And does that definition shift when AI enters into the playing field?
So I define creativity as connecting really unexpected dots, making big leaps of imagination, finding the connective tissue between things that don't seem to be connected. And all of that is in service of making meaning, making people feel something. So that definition does not change when AI enters the conversation, similar to what you said. It is just a tool at our disposal. It's what we do with it that allows us to either heighten our creativity and become more imaginative, more effective, put more into the world, make more meaning, or it could also be a tool to put less meaningful things into the world if you don't bring that perspective of imagination to it.
Yeah, Pip, what do you think? Is there something else or different perspective, especially with the technology thrown in there?
Very similar. My definition of creativity has always been anything that breaks you out of a pattern.
Oh, nice.
And so when you think about AI, though, particularly in the large language model world, is that these are pattern recognition machines. And so this is why I don't like, and this is why I say self-loathing like AI companies, because like, why are people trying to use machines that are designed to recognize patterns and repeat what's happened in the past, when the definition of my creativity anyway is anything that breaks a pattern? And so this is why I don't think these two things, like trying to automate a creative process, will ever work, because the beauty in creativity is the weird random connections that people have. So yeah, it's the same, but yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting because also my background in when I do diversity, equity, and inclusion work is around neuroscience, and our brains are also major pattern makers. And as artists and as creatives, that's part of our job, is to break away from the pattern that our brains are seeing every day. Break it down, which I used to call brain breaks with my team. We would have brain break exercises. So, so if we're then talking about this as I think non-threatening, what do you think, Pip, what is the most misunderstood aspects of when it comes to AI embedded into creativity?
Within the creativity advertising field, I'm going to just like zone it right in. I think the biggest misconception is that the industry world is going to die. I've spoken to a lot of VCs, and I actually had one VC turn around to me one day and say, "Why don't you just kill the industry?" And I think what they don't understand is that clients do not buy a 30-second TV spot. They do not buy the output. They're buying all the soft, tangible things that go into that output. They buy experience. They buy someone with an outside perspective. They also buy, whether you like it or not, someone to blame when shit goes wrong. And so all of those things you don't get out of a button that clicks, goes, cool, I've got an idea, let's go run with it. And so I think this is the biggest misconception, is that just because something can be created quickly and easily doesn't mean it's any good. The reality is that you don't need work faster. Like, production life cycles do not happen at the click of a button. So I think this whole fear of like creativity is going to get destroyed by by this technology that can do it is very, very misdirected.
What about you, Caitlyn? I mean, is what's misunderstood for you in this?
Yeah, I think like in the similar vein, I think that people hear AI and they think it's going to do everything for you. And it's really taking out the concept that, again, it's a tool, right? There's no magic button that you're going to type a few sentences and boom, you have your ad, you have your asset. And for me, when I was kind of like looking around, it was something I really liked about what Leonardo did. It builds out like creative tools that you can use as a creative person. So whether it's a style reference or an image reference or being able to use like reverse search to really understand like visual cues of what you like to help inform the model, I think like that's sort of where the magic exists, is when the human component with the model can make a piece of content that feels real. It's not just a magic button that's going to do everything for you.
Don't we all wish that, what is that, the easy button that we saw in commercials, like easy button was there? I definitely agree with you there. Any other like thoughts before I move on?
Yeah, I think because AI is pattern recognition at its simplest, it is a reflection of all of us and what has been interesting about humanity. And you can really take that and put that to use, but I don't think people are putting that frame on it, that it really is human in its content, but not in its processing or its ability to make meaning or make emotion.
Yeah,
The good and the bad.
Yeah, because it's lacking that they're not trying to understand us. It's just understanding a prompt or understanding how to process that
And then
prompt.
trying to find the most likely thing that's going to satisfy the person giving it the prompt.
So that's a really, I think, good segue to talk about collaboration. When we're talking about collaboration versus competition with the AI, are we in competition with it or are we collaborating with it? So if we are to think about it, and Maria, this is for you, as a creative, how have you integrated AI into your process, if at all?
Yeah.
And what has it unlocked for you and your team or disrupted it?
We've integrated AI into every facet of how the agency does work. And in some instances, it is simply making things a little bit easier. We've got practitioners who it's in some ways democratizing a bit of the creative process. We recently had a pitch and our project manager was the one who was executing assets, video assets that were going to be in the deck because he happened to be the one who was deepest in the tools and had the best understanding. So it's getting people into places where they couldn't be before. Maybe there were some assumptions that were in place. It's also been able to fast track career pathing for some particular disciplines. And our data science team, folks who were at the analyst level, are moving more quickly into that data scientist realm because so much of the analysis can happen like Deepak said. The AI does a better job at that. So we're able to fast track some things. And then in terms of how it most affects my job, we're able to make things that were abstract concrete much earlier in the process. An idea that we're asking a client to take a big leap of imagination in order to say yes to, we don't have to ask them to go quite so far. We can get them halfway there and get them there much quicker. And it's helping us, put more interesting work on the table and more importantly, get a yes to go and make that work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we're always looking for, isn't it?
Exactly.
Like, doesn't matter if you're on the agency side or the client side, you are trying to move your projects forward, hopefully with a little velocity without losing any of the project dollars that are associated with it.
Yeah.
There's always budgets that we have to be mindful of.
Yeah.
And so Pip, then, what about the human imagination? And if we think about that and then the machine, where it diverges, right? And when does it make meaning? When does it diverge? What can one do that simply cannot be done, either machine or human, vice versa?
Yeah.
Just a really small question.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think Deepak answered this in the last session beautifully. And it's like the difference between like humans and AI is that AI, never will have suicidal thoughts. It's never fallen in love. It's never done anything. And how do you connect with other people when you haven't had those experiences yourself? And so this is where I think you need to design these things around people and around collaboration who connect with other people, funnily enough, and use it to not try to find the answers, but to explore where those ideas can go. And so if you think about the classic double diamond creative process, we just try to work out how do you help people go really, really wide and how do you use it as an exploration tool, not an answer tool.
Yeah.
And I think once people start to reframe what this thing is good at in their own minds and in their own workflows, that's when you actually get to more interesting work, because what it does allow you to do is explore where all those ideas could go. I'm not saying that all of them are going to be good, but hopefully there's one or two that's going to connect with someone.
Yeah, especially when you're dealing with divergent thinking in that moment of that diamond shape, right?
Yeah.
It's all about quantity to get to quality.
Yeah.
But if you're editing and doing convergent thinking in that moment, doesn't work as well. So.
And I think there's a bigger problem that a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of these models are starting to converge to the same place, and everyone thinks they're getting a one-on-one personal answer, but they're not. They're getting the same answers from everyone. And so, like, I challenge everyone here to do this at another time, but open up any model that you want, ChatGPT, Anthropic, DeepSeek, ask it for a random number between 1 and 10. And I'll tell you what the answer is going to be straight away. The first answer is going to say 7, the next answer is going to be 3, and the next answer is going to be 9, no matter what model, no matter who you are, no matter where you live.
That's a fun party
What
tool,
I use too.
It's a very fun party game.
Yeah, but this is the scary thing, because everyone thinks they're getting the same stuff, but they're driving everyone into the same place.
Yeah.
And you can't inspire any creativity at all when all you give people is the same things over and over and over again.
Ooh, okay.
Sorry.
And this is why we're having this conversation, right? And any other thoughts on this before we,
Just thinking about the fine art side of things, that is driven by this human yearning to create new, to create newness, and that does not exist in AI. Yearning is not something that a machine can do, and so it is the motivation around creation that is uniquely human, and you can put on a pedestal in order to help guide how some of these things are implemented.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah? We ready?
Ready.
We're ready to move on? Okay, this is where we start talking about intention versus ownership. Okay, what is the intention of the artist? What happens when you integrate AI into that? Who owns it? What happens? Like, where does that work? And so, when does AI stop being a tool and start becoming a co-creator? I was at a different session where someone mentioned, do you think of the AI as the canvas, or do you think of it as the brush? I thought that was a really fascinating question. And is there a meaningful line between the two? Thoughts? I'm going to open this one up. Yeah?
I mean, to me, AI is not a co-creator. I think it is a tool. It is the brush. It could also be the canvas, but there is no intention there. There is no ability to make meaning. There is simply the ability to analyze and find patterns. So I think that is the line where human is needed and human has authorship.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Okay. Because I kind of think of it at Caitlyn, your idea of like a camera. When the camera came about, who's going to say, like, I'm going to give authorship to my camera?
Right.
Who thinks about that as a photographer, really? Right?
Yeah.
So are we thinking maybe that's kind of in a similar vein? I don't know. What do you think, Pip?
I think I'm trying to phrase my words nicely. The reality is that Facebook and Meta came out the other day and said that we're basically going to try and automate the whole process. And so from strategy, creative, bid in, the work, everything. And put your credit card down, do your objective, and just trust us. And I think the reality is that some things are not going to be co-created, some things are going to be created by machines. And I think we just need to recognize that and understand where the value is, because that's coming. That's the reality of it. And I think it's very dangerous, particularly when you've had an organization who hasn't had the best track record and has a walled garden, not letting people actually understand if anything's working or not.
And has an immense amount of our data as well.
Oh yeah, exactly right. And so I think we need to look at this at, like, where is the value that we want to retain and hold, and where is the shit that you just want to get rid of, or you're just going to lose. And I think the quicker that we get to that place, I think the better, unless there's a massive boycott amongst some of these very, very large players. but it's very hard to stop that train once it leaves the station.
Yeah. I know this is a little bit of a divergence here, but I think about, for those of us, how many of you used Grammarly before? Anyone?
Yeah.
Right? So that is really, it's an AI-based tool, but if we use that as an editing tool, no one feels like you need to demand from someone, you need to say that you used AI, but you use GPT of some sort to do your editing. Now people are in arm about, like, you must now say that it's not just your work. So this is where I think that question of authorship comes in.
Yep.
Is it co-created? Is it yours? Are you using it as a tool? Why do we need to make an exception for AI in this way that we've never done for other tools before?
Well, I think the difference is in the models and the content that was used to feed those models. Because many of the generative models were fed on the work of creative people, writers, illustrators, photographers, filmmakers, and that authorship isn't credited, and that's a complicated ethical thing. And so acknowledgement there makes sense to me. I don't know that that's the end of what needs to be done in order to protect creativity, but that does make a clear line between a Grammarly and a ChatGPT.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, it's just one of those things I always thought about. Like, also, if we think about, I mean, Canva. How many of us use Canva? Oh my goodness! I remember as a creative and leading an agency, I remember thinking, like, that's not what creatives use. You know what I mean? That's not what creatives use. I remember so many designers going like, no, that's not, like, but honestly, like, it makes our lives easier for people who can do the day-to-day, and it's a way to free yourselves into certain things. That doesn't mean you're going to be as masterful in some way. I can play the piano, but I am not a maestro in any mean, right? I can play a little guitar. That doesn't mean, like, that's what. So I think a tool sometimes is that, and then how you, as the creator of that thing, can enhance that experience.
I'm a graphic designer by trade. I don't personally use Canva, but I'm also not scared of it.
Yeah.
It can't do what I can do.
Yeah. I think this also leads really right in there too about ethics. Right? So we were talking about, like, what about the ethical considerations then? Should creative teams think about it as how do you incorporate AI into their work, which you already are, from how do we deal with the bias, the attributions that are coming with it, who fed it? That's where it starts, right? And we know, I know definitely from a diversity, equity, and inclusion perspective, and a lot of BIPOC history is not really fed into these machines. And also, it's definitely in the hands of who created it, right? So there's that in there. And then what about consent? You just talked about that. A lot of this information has been really thrown into these models, and who gets that kind of authorship or not. What do you think?
It's scary.
Yeah.
There's obviously big legal cases going on right now with Midjourney I mean, the reality is that these decisions are going to be a lot out of our hands. It's going to be the big foundational players who have to make these decisions on behalf of everyone else.
Yeah.
Work has been stolen. I think people just have to realize that. I think really what needs to happen is that these tools that we're starting to be able to build and create and play with, I think it can be a really good force for good, but you need to design them around people versus trying to design them to replace people. And for me, that's the line. And like, so there's one example where the bias is potentially very, very dangerous. So I can't remember when this was, but it was in the US, probably maybe 5 years ago. They tried to train an AI model to make judgments in court more equitable, and they ended up training a racist AI model. And like, so this data in, data out stuff is very dangerous. And a part of this is a reflection of society that we just need to get better at.
Yeah.
And a part of it is like the ethical and the other sides of it, which we'll find out over, I guess, the next 5 years, because it's going to come up time and time again.
Yeah. Caitlyn, I'm going to move this to you because I just realized I haven't asked you a question in a little bit. So if we were to fast forward like 10 years from now, Do you imagine a renaissance of some sort in creativity, or do you think it'll just flood, or ecosystem will be just flooded with sameness? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of like fear and excitement around AI, and I think something that we're coming back to a lot is it's really just a new version of technology we've seen. To some extent, I don't think it's going to like completely change the game and what we create and what resonates with people. And it's really going to come down to understanding how and when to use the AI. So I was thinking about this, and we had done this really great campaign with Coca-Cola over the holiday, and they wanted to make custom snow globes for their users to be able to like input a memory of their favorite Christmas, and the output would be a personalized snow globe, but in the Coca-Cola branding. A designer that would take them, I don't even know how long, to make custom snow globes for hundreds of thousands of people, but being able to take like the concept art from the designers that were able to feed this custom model and find this sweet spot of a creative idea from creative professionals, work that went into it and trained the way it was meant to be, and then the output being the AI. So when we're talking about scale, when we're talking about volume, I think that's the smart way to think about what we're doing in generative AI. It is a scale play, it is a volume play, it is a speed play, but doing it correctly is just as important as the volume of it. So to circle back the long way to your question, I think, yes, we're gonna see more content. We saw it with like the explosion of social media, right? You needed to add more content just to feed your audience. But I think people are gonna get really savvy, like they did with social media, of what this content is and whether or not it resonates with them.
Yeah.
Can I just come back to your example of the camera? This is my favorite example of AI. Because like if you think about art and history, forever art was about making people look more and more realistic. From like cave paintings to tapestries to all the different styles of traditional art. And then the camera came along and it destroyed what we knew as art forever. Generations and generations of jobs were destroyed, but it also gave birth to all of the art that we love and appreciate today. Like if you go back into your hotel rooms, you look at the walls, it's not a picture of a person, it'll be something that's postmodern type art. And I think that is one world that we live in, where there is an explosion of creativity and the definition of creativity does look different. I don't think the definition changes, I think it looks different. But there's also the converse world where everything looks better and we think it's better, but it's actually all just more and more the same and nothing really excites, and you end up in a brave new world where we're fed everything that we want, where you have an AI creating your work that gets fed into a social algorithm AI, and it becomes this kind of loop of spiral of death. So I think we're in like a big fork in the road where it could either like blossom into something nice or it turns into Brave New World. And
or one could lead to the other if we all keep our wits about us. I suspect there will be a flood of fully automated content that hits much sooner than 10 years from now.
Oh yeah.
And if really wonderful creative people see that and respond to it, it could lead to a really big shift, a creative renaissance of sorts. But that takes a ton of intention, and a lot of really wonderful, smart, creative leaders not getting sucked down into the tide.
No.
That is true. It's like art has always been a rebirth of things, right? And it's always almost until, like you said, it became real, and then we had the Impressionists and all of that, and it's like a throwback to like not being like everything else, right? So.
Art has also always been elitist, and we're talking about this. Look in here, and what is beautiful about AI is that anyone with a creative thought, regardless of where they live, where they grew up, their income, their education, can have access to these tools, which are really, really exciting as well.
Yeah,
so
okay.
It's both ways.
I just realized that I'm looking at the time, and I'm surprised that no one has like flagged me down yet. So we're gonna go into our final question, and I'd love to ask each and every one of you this one. If you have one message, only one message for creatives who feel threatened by AI, what would it be? Let's start with you, Caitlyn, and we'll come this way.
Start from the bottom.
Yeah.
I think try it. I think that there's a lot of fear around what you don't know. That's human nature, right? To fear the unknown. I think once you're in it and really playing with different tools and different features, you start kind of getting the gist, pretty much understanding where can this be plugged in, where does this not make sense. And I think that is honestly the best advice I could give to anybody in it. I think it will help a lot with like fear mongering and concern. Education is always the best move forward, in my opinion.
Love it. Yeah, how about you?
We talk a lot about uniqueness in advertising and distinctiveness, and I think you can apply that to your personal brand and your personal growth as well. So know what makes you uniquely you. Know what your unique value is, whether that's a creative value or something else. Think about that through the lens of what is uniquely human, and those are things that AI can't do. So focus on that and then use AI to grow those things or to grow your output, but make sure that the thing that you bring to the table can't be replicated. Yeah. And then look at this as a set of tools, an ever-expanding set of tools to make you stronger and better and more creative and more imaginative.
Love that.
I'm not going to add anything because I think they covered it beautifully.
Yeah?
Play and develop your craft, and you're good.
There you have it. Do we have one question we can take from the audience? Okay, I'm looking at Sharon over there. Yes. Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Hi, my name is Josiane Probert, and I manage a stock photo platform. So I work with contributors from Afrocentric communities, and I've tested a bunch of generative AI platforms. And I think there's something we don't discuss enough, especially the platforms we create these tools, is the output. Mm-hmm. When you're a creative, you want something that's unique. And when you're on your keyboard, you think that whatever you're typing is from you. Mm-hmm. So you believe that what's going to come out is also a reflection of yourself. But what we don't know is if the output has been shared with 10 people, 100 people, a million people, we don't know that. And we think that it's our art. Right. And I wish we had a little bit more data as users on is it really my work or it's been given to 20 other people. And that happened to me. I've tested and I was trying to see how one platform will put together the concept of cybersecurity because it's highly conceptual. And it gave me a bunch of images, and then a few months after, I read an article, and one of them had the same exact image that the platform had created for me.
Yeah.
So I was like, oops.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
I think it's a great point. I tell creatives, don't use AI for idea generation. Use it to know what ideas not to bring forward. Because like we talked about earlier, it is a reflection of what already exists, and it is not original. You have to be the one to bring the originality. Use it to explore one facet of an idea. But if you just say, give me ideas for Coca-Cola to create a holiday campaign, like you said, everybody is getting the same answer. That is not creativity.
Even if you're specific, black and brown people, black people, for example, some of the women, they always have the same features.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And it's really hard to get away. Like you can add specific details and the feature is still the same. So it's really something that the platform needs to understand.
I agree.
That's the bias, I think, that gets into, I think he had his hand up and then Sharon's gonna be like, yeah.
Thank you. Terrific discussion, really great learning. Thanks, Kimfer. I used to run a television network, and now I'm an author and board advisor. I think not so much about the technology, but I'm thinking about the talent. So my question to all of you is, the next generation of creative designers are going to lean in so much in technology, I think they will probably not have their creative juices flowing more than learning how to write the right prompt, because prompt engineering is becoming a skill and a career by itself. So my question to you is, in your experience, what's the best way to ensure that the coming generations actually use their gray cells and not the pixels to generate good art and good creatives?
Thank you. I would actually push back on that because I think that using AI and prompt engineering, it's going to be like when I was in elementary school, I took computer typing classes. And that's no longer like a special talent to put on your resume that you know how to type on a computer, right? It's very table stakes. That's an expectation of your job. our two jobs are very different, but we both have that skill. And I think Gen AI will fall similarly into that. Everyone will need to have a baseline understanding and use case for a lot of this technology, but it's not gonna be your special sauce. You're still going to need to like push to the next barrier to really stand out in whether it's a design role, a business development role. Like those are very different jobs, but we both have that one shared skill.
Right.
So I think it's more so in that vein and less so a replacement of creativity.
I also think that the next generation getting jobs is going to be harder than ever. And you've got CEOs who are incentivized for short-term success. We've got quarterly reporting, 12-month reporting to hit their bonus. And the problem is that no one cares about 5-10 years away. And so everyone is now, yeah, exactly right. Everyone's now trying to just like maximize profits at the expense of the next guy, because they don't give a shit about the next guy. And so you actually move into a bigger societal issue where you move from a relatively healthy middle class into a really shitty bunch of people who are mega rich and a bunch of people who are not. And this leads to big societal uprisings, and it's happened in history throughout time. And I think, I think what will have to happen is that people have to learn their craft a lot longer. You're not going to be at school for 10 years anymore. You're probably at school for 20 years. And you have to define your craft so that when you get your hands on these machines, you've got something that's gone, well, this is me and this is my style and this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I've been thinking, this might sound small, but maybe not. I've been thinking a lot about QA, checking the outputs, whether it's copy and content or videos and imagery, but it could be a way to help folks who are maybe earlier in their careers move up, because we know so many of the tasks are going to be affected by AI, but perhaps that focus helps you think critically, not only about the inputs and outputs, but what matters within those things, and which pieces does a hallucination help and which pieces have to be accurate. I think there's something in the checking of the machines. It could be a tool that we utilize to help people grow and develop.
Yeah. I think we're going to have to do this. If you have the question, come chat with us on this side. Because
I'm going to flip the script, so I won't.
yeah, okay.
It's so negative, and it's like there's so much pause possible. but if there's no oxygen, I get it.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you so much to the panel for being in this conversation, and thank you so much for showing up in this gorgeous view to have this conversation around AI and artistry. Thanks.
Give them a round of applause. Thank you.